I guess we're going to work with the street light. I don't know why modern Christianity is teaching people how to get walked all over and how to be a pushover, because this whole idea of tough love should be mixed in with the merciful love, because there are times, as we're taught, where you have to bring the hammer down in order to show somebody that you love them, right? So this is that balance of the masculine and the feminine. And then there's this overarching theme that Christians are weak, not meek. And then in general, God's people, any tribal people, any Christians, anybody following source and following love and light, right? So it's not just limited to that, but I know that in Christian circles, this tends to be a popular subject. You should be terrified of spiritual people. And I don't say that because we're bullies or that you intend to be bullies. The exact opposite. It's because of the whole thing that Jordan Peterson talks about with cultivating your inner monster and getting a hold and putting a chain on it so that you can use it for a benevolent purpose, just like you can master your lighter half. Because mastering your lighter half, or the softer half, or the half that is relenting and yielding, is great, but it's only one half of the equation. And most spiritual teachings, Christianity and Western religions included, actually teach this if you're looking at the text close enough. So you should be effing terrified of God's people, because you're also taught to cultivate your inner monster and to grow it, but then put it on a leash so you can use it for quote unquote righteous purposes. Like, example, in the Bible, you know how many times God actually instructed leaders to kill people? To kill people. Entire nations of people. Or the fact that God, as a benevolent God, completely wiped certain nations off the face of the map. That is terrifying. When you think about it, that is terrifying. You should be shaking in your boots, especially if that type of God commands humans to go take down entire armies. Okay. And there's a difference between killing and murder. This is taught in a lot of Christian lessons as well. And the whole thing with the word roots, when you actually look back to Hebrew and all of that stuff, right? So thou shalt not kill is also translated from the Hebrew word of thou shalt not murder, not thou shalt not kill. And no, I'm not advocating violence, but there is a difference with that. God has actually instructed a lot of people who were considered cowards in the Bible to raise up into their power and to overcome fear, basically. And that is only something that your inner monstrosity can do. So honestly, when they say that God's people are warriors, that's meant very specifically, because we're very unrelenting people. We're very strong-willed people. And if you're using your spiritual gifts and your time and your purpose wisely, you're a force to be reckoned with, and you will carry yourself in such a commanding way that, you know, people interact with you differently and people respond to you differently. Why? Because that energy is so forceful by nature and by the very essence of what God is, that you can just make people shake in their boots even when you are the most docile, kind-hearted person. Why? Because it's an energy thing. It's not necessarily an interactive thing. So what meek means is basically the whole thing with Teddy Roosevelt is speak softly and carry a big stick. But you can tell when we walk in the room that we're carrying a big baseball bat or club or stick or whatever it is that we will knock you the F out with, right? But it's more in the form of spirituality and truth and justice, because that is the only thing that dissolves negative fear energy in this world. And, you know, at the end of the day, we truly are like terrifying warrior people that are highly disciplined and know when to use that and when to yield and not use that part of ourselves. If you only cultivate half of yourself, I don't think that you can truly be considered good, because Jordan Peterson talks about that just makes you a coward. You're nice because you have to be, because you have no other option, because if you are not nice, then you don't have the defense system in order to stand up for yourself or whatever. And I think Christianity teaching that is actually a tool of the shadow powers or corrupt powers that are in the world. Because if they're teaching you how to be docile and only that, you're missing the other half of the equation, because you have to have some level of aggression and monstrosity in order to stand up against injustice. It's being a bigger monster than the monster in front of you, but a good-hearted monster.